So today from the garden we have zucchini, and we'll be making zucchini noodles, which is also known as zoodles. And I have this neat little gadget right here that will spiralize it. It's a spiralizer, this blade. And so I will do a spiralized zucchini with a kale basil pesto. And then I'm gonna do a coconut fried chickpeas with just some herbs here, just some chili powder, cumin, and then I'm gonna put a little bit of lemon in there. Fry that up as for the protein side of the dish. And to go along with the zoodles and the pesto, I will saute some mushroom and onion. So it kind of just beefs it up a little bit more. And as a side dish, we will do herb roasted potatoes, which I will harvest some parsley from the garden. We do have some parsley and cilantro here from the garden as well, and here. And then just some steamed corn, a simple steamed corn. If you want to roast the corn, that's always an option too, but that will be a later video on the fire actually. But for now, we're going to head down to the garden and harvest the kale, the parsley, and see if we have more zucchini. With our garden grown zucchini, what I did was use a spiralizer to make zucchini noodles, which are called zoodles. Next, which I'll be making, which will go with these zoodles, are a kale basil pesto. So the first step to making the pesto is to brown the pine nuts, or just basically toast them in a cast iron pan is the best way on a medium-high heat. You can also use a walnut, or some people use cashews as well if you don't want to use the traditional pine nuts. I made a kale basil pesto to go with our zucchini noodles. And basically what I did was I started out with about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of pine nuts, and I toasted them on a medium-high heat. And in my food processor, I added the kale from the garden, which was about 2 cups of kale, 2 cups of basil, 1/2 cup of olive oil, 2 garlic cloves, and just a few slices of a pecorino romano cheese. If you can also make this vegan as well, but however I wanted to do it with some cheese. I also added a whole lemon. I like it lemony, but some people may actually prefer a 1/2 lemon, so I suggest starting with a 1/2 lemon and then adding more to taste if you like more. Finally, you can season it with some salt to taste as well. And kale basil pesto can be really good with not only zucchini noodles, but you can make it with regular pasta. You can put it on potatoes, on peppers, you can use it as a dip, you can spread it on crackers, you can make a pesto pizza. There's just so many things you can do with pesto. Basil really good for your immune system, but it's also packed with macronutrients and vitamin K and vitamin C, and there's just so many benefits to eating a fresh pesto. Kale as well is very high in vitamin K too. This dish is going to be a coconut fried chickpeas. So it's basically just a can of chickpeas, and I drained them and rinsed them, and then rolled them in a paper towel. However, a towel would be better, or a thicker paper towel with multiple levels so it doesn't rip. And just kind of roll them back and forth so the skin comes off of some of the chickpeas, and then they will toast much better and get crispier if the skin is off. So what I did to make the coconut fried chickpeas was I heated up some coconut oil in a pan, added the chickpeas, and then seasoned it with some chili powder and cumin, and some lime zest, and I let that fry on a medium-high heat. And I tasted it a few times just until it was nice and crispy. So I want to say it's probably a good 10 minutes. And definitely taste it, see if it's at your crispy taste level that you prefer. I do like mine crispy because you can eat this over salad. You can sprinkle it on salads. It's a nice just little compliment as a side dish. But you can eat it cold on top of a salad, or you can eat it warm. And this is gonna accompany as the protein for our Zoodle Pesto dish. So what I'm making now is an onion mushroom saute with some fresh herbs and garlic. This will also accompany our Zoodle dish with pesto, and after this is sauteed, I'm gonna actually add the Zoodles, cook it down just a little bit, just till it's al dente, mix it all together, and then add the pesto, stir it well, and then top it with some fresh herbs. What I did here was I sauteed some mushrooms in some olive oil. I coated the pan on a medium heat, added the red onion just until it was translucent. I cooked it. And then I turned the heat down to medium-low, added the mushrooms, let that saute for about 15-20 minutes. Some people like their mushrooms a little hard. I like mine in between, so some people like them really mushy as well. So depending on your preference, cook them however long that you prefer, and then I add the garlic, saute that up until it's nice and fragrant. And then I added the zucchini noodles, and I didn't want to cook them so they were soggy. I wanted to cook them so they are still a little bit firm. And I tossed them together, steamed it a little bit, put the lid on, let it collect a little bit of steam in there so they cook down a little bit. And then I added some fresh parsley and cilantro. And now I'm going to transfer this to the bowl and mix it with the homemade kale basil pesto that we made. When I was done sauteing the onion, mushroom, and Zoodles, I transferred it to a bowl and added some of the kale basil pesto that we made to it, tossed it, coated the Zoodles, coated the mushrooms, added a little bit of sunflower seeds and some fresh tomato. And now it's ready to be plated.
Every single day you want to come into your garden, you want to see what is available for picking, and then from there you start to be a little creative so that you can create a meal for the household. So let's go ahead and pick a few things, Sarah. This is the kale.
Yes, we're gonna pick some kale.
This kale, when you pick it, right here, it is going to be filled with more kale in the next day or two. So it's so important to come out here and make sure to harvest some, because if you don't, it's going to begin to bolt. So every time you harvest a little bit, you're telling the plant to keep producing more foliage, which is going to keep producing more food for you throughout the season.
We'll get some fresh basil to add to some of our store-bought basil. We actually have a lot of Thai basil, so I'm going to add some Thai basil to our pesto dish as well. It's going to give it a nice flavor too.
So we're going to be making anywhere from 4 to 5 different things in this meal. So we're going to be breaking this video up into a series of videos just to make it a little easier, because you might want to make one thing out of this meal versus the whole dish.